I know what you're thinking. What exactly is a real $4 million business, Jake? All around the world, people are selling the next big dropshipping course, clothing brand, and paid Discord, and they're all the hype. But the secret is, they don't actually make any money. But no, we're doing this for real. I've spoken to 164 real business owners, from the founder of Best Buy to the founder of Buy Drink, and even Mr. Beast. Yeah, we talked about rocks, but that's a conversation for a different time. And they all agree on one thing. It's hard, but there's 3 secrets to pushing through the entire process to making a now $4 million company that we have. And today, we're unlocking all 3 secrets, starting at an airport in Florida. So we had a really successful morning so far. I met with my financial team. We had a slip up with the IRS because we switched from an LLC to a C Corp, and the LLC tax times, like you have to submit your taxes earlier than you would for a C Corp. So we had to pay a $470 penalty for that. I'm meeting with the potential grant opportunity. So I have a meeting now in 4 minutes with him to see if we're eligible, because then I would move to New Jersey and become a part of this program for at least $200,000 worth of investment, which would be sick. And for us, completely life-changing. So let's see if we can get this 200 grand.
To the extent that I would have any influence as a voice, I can certainly whisper in their ear and say, hey, here's a company, et cetera, I happen to know them, et cetera. So
I appreciate it. So we're in a good standing for that. That's honestly super exciting. So we'll see if we continue to fit the criteria. So the next thing off of that is we bring on all the information, and then we figure out how to make sure that we fit all that criteria. I also know that people like to poo-poo on ChatGPT a lot of the time, but I just read through a 14-page document in like 3 seconds to find all the eligibility criteria on what we'd have to do to be eligible for this grant. I'm not trying to sound like a broken record here, that I am different than a lot of the people who are on YouTube. Like, a lot of people sell courses, a lot of people are selling stuff. I don't sell anything. You don't see me selling anything on anything around the channel. I'm literally just building the company. But at the same time, I'm in a process, or like a spot where it's like, this is where most people just kind of have their head down and are going, where it's like, it's not the flashy cars, it's not the flashy like locations, you know what I mean? That's why I spend a lot of the time in my room, because that's where a lot of the stuff actually happens. I have to send over our product portfolio to one of my engineers. He's gonna start creating like a product portfolio of everything we've created so far, and then where we're gonna go. I gotta get back to work and finish this up, so I'll catch you tomorrow. So the big thing for us right now, as we're building the product out, raising funding, is making sure that we're compliant with everything that has to go on with the regulatory. So it's HIPAA, FDA. It's tough because it's a medical device, and there's a bunch of stuff that we have to make sure that I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And I'm meeting with a regulatory consultant right now. She actually was in the meeting from last week when I was in Florida, and she was super helpful. So I sent her all the CPT codes that we're under, which is current procedural technique, is what they bill for insurance reimbursements for. And she's looking over everything to make sure that we're eligible and compliant with. Okay, that meeting was awesome because it kind of helped us align all the pieces to the puzzle that you need. That I've learned going through the regulatory process, and like learning how to navigate the medical device aspect of the regulatory process, is this is everybody you would need, specifically for us going through class 2, because we have to be FDA compliant to be able to sell to people, to be able to get pre-orders, everything that would go along it with building the process. So number 1 is you need regulatory people to be able to talk to the FDA. You need engineers to be able to make the product. You need regulatory engineers to help you go through the testing process and the compliance process of making sure that you're following all their guidelines. And then you also need somebody, for our perspective, who understands the CPT codes, which is the current procedural technique codes, which would be eligible for insurance reimbursement. Because again, the reason I'm building this from the beginning is to help my mom. So I'm building everything around doing that, but we also are a business that has to make money. So we're adding this reimbursement technique, which is gonna, number 1, increase patient outcomes, because the physical therapist is gonna be able to talk to you, your grandma, and your sister from over yonder, a state away, about what's going on in their problems. And then the clinic will be able to make more money off of doing that, as long as we're able to make sure that we're following all the right steps to actually providing value for the person who's using our products, which is what we're doing. So I think we're doing the steps right. We have a little bit of time, I think, till the next meeting, and then I'm getting chipotle for lunch. Now this guy wants to do some sewing for us, or bonding, adhesive bonding. At the least, we need to figure out the information we need to get to be able to know what we have to do to get everything done. And this guy's overseas and he knows how to do it, so it's definitely worth the conversation to at least talk to him and understand the steps we need to take to be able to do this effectively. So I'm pretty excited to talk to this guy. Let's do it. Alright, so it's gonna fit in like this. We're planning on having like this tiny, small pocket that's gonna be sewed or here bonded onto the top of the tape, and then this pod, which is the size of this, is gonna slide into it. But I was wondering, from a cost effectiveness perspective, like, do you think that would be a good idea to do it this way? Is there something else that you think would be more effective? If so, what would that be?
The most cost effective is high frequency welding, because you make the tool, and depending a little bit on the size, you can either have 10 or maybe even 20 in one welding process, which is like, let's say, loading the machine, let's say 30 seconds, welding 30 seconds, unloading machine 30 seconds. So in 1.5 minutes, you have between 10 and 20 of those pieces ready.
That's perfect. So that would be exactly, we need 20. So we're selling 20 in one roll, and if we can do that in 1 minute and 30 seconds, that would be absolutely incredible. This is a really good reason of what I was talking about yesterday, where it's like you feel like you're on the top of the world, and then the next day you end up getting humbled pretty quick. So let's go through a little bit of what they said. We have good news and bad news. Good news is we're still moving along with the engineering, which is most important. Bad news is we got some rejections for funding. So the big one in New Jersey, we're not eligible for, and I don't think there's any way we can swing it. And then I got rejected from 2 angel groups. I'll read them. Dear Cowtown Angels applicant, thank you for your application to Cowtown Angels and for your patience as we confirm presenter availability. It was competitive in the screening process for our May 2024 cycle, and we wanted to inform you that the Angels have decided to pass on this opportunity for this cycle. We offer the opportunity to apply to Cowtown Angels 2 times and attach resources we would like to share with all of the 202 potential questions for investors. Good luck. It is what it is. It happens. And then Health Tech Angels also denied us, but they've been asking me a bunch of follow-up questions. Like, they said, no, thank you for your submission to your company information, Health Tech Capital. We appreciated your efforts in following our process. Our review committee has evaluated your company status and was intrigued. We got a high quantity of deal flow this month. Unfortunately, we can only pick 4 companies for our monthly screening meeting. So I honestly straight up responded, and I said, can I get feedback on what milestones you're looking for? And she told me, and I gave her more answers, so she started answering back and asking more in-depth questions, and I'm just waiting to see if she'll respond again, but I'm not expecting anything from that. Usually when they say it once, it's not gonna happen. Ubiquity Pitch, Lectra Tech, Jake, thanks for sharing your information via our pitch form. Unfortunately, this would not be a fit for me. I really respect your motivation in launching this startup and wish you the best of luck. In case it's all helpful, here's a post I wrote about what I think is the single hardest part of the stage, knowing whose advice to take and whose to ignore. That's crazy. He plugged himself in an email about rejecting me. So it's just like, what I've learned is you gotta make the deal hot, is what people say. So you have to find a reason. Like, if they don't believe in you, if they don't believe in the idea, whatever, it's part of it. But as you show more traction, you hit more milestones, that's where people start to turn back and give you the opportunity. But like, again, it's super tough. It hurts getting shot down every single day, day after day. Like, my folder's up to 37 rejections now. So I'll probably respond to him and be like, what would you need to see? Or is there any way that I could get you to talk to the rest of our team and explain the scope of this? But again, it's probably going to be a wash, because most of them is like, once they made their point, they made their point. But it is 10:30, which means I gotta go to sleep, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. So we just paid our engineers for work that was done back in May, but there was like stipulations that we had in the payment process, so it took a while for us to be able to pay them, and we had them doing continuous work. So it was just hard because we didn't get a lot out of the process. Here, I'll grab this real quick. But we did get enough to get us to the next step. So it helped us bring on another leg of funding, even though this is the wrong box. This was our V1 prototypes that were made for us. Let me see if I can change the, there it is. They do output electricity, but it wasn't as intense as we wanted because they had built it a different way than we had initially thought. So then plug it in, turn it on, and everything is ready to rock and roll. And then we're able to transmit electricity through there. They made a couple of them for us, and you can turn it on, turn it off as well. So that was like the firmware that they did. You can turn on, turn it off, and then when it's charging, this is always continuously on, which is pretty cool, but it only does one setting, which is not as cool. In terms of the actual development here, here's been the process of building onto the circuit boards. So it started with this. This was our first board, and it took us a while to make that. And we made a few of them. So this one didn't even do anything. It just showed our concept that we had the room, had the space to be able to do it. And then that got us to V2, which was more assembled and more populated, which I'll show right here. But again, this one was just trying to add extra parts, but didn't add the functionality yet. So we went from V1 here to a more populated version 2. And then from there, we redesigned and shrunk it again, where we got down to this size. Now, this may not look like it's much of a difference, but then when you compare it to the other board size, it's significantly smaller. And this one actually had our first output too, which was awesome. So that was version 3. And then version 4 is the one that you see here, where we begun printing everything. It actually had functionality to do stuff. You could turn it on, turn it off, and use it for stim for the very first time. And then that's what slides into the pocket. We redesigned this entirely again. New shape, new design, to be able to fit into this next. This is going to be the outside pod, and it's also going to look a lot cleaner and better, but we had to do this for demonstrative purposes and stuff. But the next one's going to be even significantly smaller and have a much higher output and higher functionality, and that should be done by the end of this week, which is awesome. But it's cool bringing this here. This is a pretty cool developmental process. So we're just going to keep on cooking. So now we're getting on with the engineering and design guys again for connecting the tape, and I'm interested to go over what he was talking about because he said that he had a pretty good idea on how to do it. I think my engineer's gonna join as well. Chat. So unfortunately, the guy was a little bit pessimistic, but sometimes that's what happens when you talk to engineers, and you take with what they say as a grain of salt, and you design off what you can, you control what you can, and you don't control what you can't control, and you can't control how other people respond. So it is what it is, and it happens often, but then you find the other people who help you solve the problems that those other people couldn't solve in the first place. So it is what it is. All right, so we got to meet with this manufacturer right now from Boston to make sure everything's good to go. It's good to go. I already had to move the time once because I had to do something else with my family, but people are waiting. Let them in. Secrets are no fun unless you share it with everyone. And if you do something that's against what's normal, it's gonna be lonely, scary, and people are gonna look at you weird. And there's one last secret that's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't remember what it is. Wait, what is this? Love the grind. You have to absolutely fall in love with the grind. People build their own businesses because they want to do their own thing. And if you're not doing that and you're not enjoying it, you mess something up along the way. And the coolest part about building your own business is you get to build the best team, you get to figure out problems and have everything work out along the way, and you get to fall in love with the grind. And that's what it's all about. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.